How you been doing?
I've been doing good. All right. Same old stuff, different day.
Same.
Work, work, work. Home, home, home.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. I finally watched the movie Prey this past weekend. Was
Oh,
it this past weekend? Yeah,
oh
it was this
yeah?
past weekend.
Finally?
Yeah, yeah. I went and hung out with Matt, and we watched Prey, and then we actually watched Alien 3? Aliens 3. Yeah.
Why Alien 3?
Because he saw 1 and 2,
Ah,
and my feelings with Aliens 3 is that it's not a bad movie, it's just not a good movie. Like, if you compare it to everything else after Alien 3, so Resurrection and, God, I don't even remember, because there was 2 more after 3, right? There was Resurrection and, I don't remember. But then you have the AVP movies. Maybe there wasn't.
no, Alien Resurrection was the last
Maybe
Alien
that was the
movie.
last one of the main line.
Yeah.
But then you had the AVP movies, which AVP 1, not bad. AVP 2, sucked
Trash.
ass. AVP 3, even worse. So yeah, I was just like he's one of those weird people. Like he does audio work, and you would think that he'd probably be like a cinephile since he's actually worked on some small budget movies and whatnot. And he's like, no, I've never seen those movies, and I'm just like, we're not friends anymore unless you at least watch the first one. So he finally got around to watching the first one and then watching the second one. He really liked them. And I said, well, I went over there to watch Prey, the Jan Trachtenberg Predator movie. Have you seen it?
Yeah.
Phenomenal movie.
Yes. I told you.
Phenomenal movie. But then afterwards, we were like, well, what do you want to do? And I was like, well, we could watch Alien 3 because we got on that subject because we hadn't seen each other in person in a while to talk about his how he liked Alien and Aliens. And I was like, you could stop here. We can watch this. Which, by the way, we downloaded. He got a hold of,
Procured.
procured. I don't even remember what it was called. It was called like the something cut. It was not even director's cut because I know David Fincher as the one who actually directed the movie, but it was something. It was like some weird cut of the movie that ended up being like 2.5 hours long, almost 3 hours long. I think it's the one because what's weird is we're watching it and I'm like, yeah, and then this happens, and it happens differently, and I'm like, there must be a director's cut out there that I haven't seen, and obviously not a director's cut, but somebody else's cut out there that I haven't seen that tries to fix some of the plot holes in that movie.
Good fucking luck.
Uh, yeah, right. I mean, it was a lot. It's a lot more because okay, How do you remember Alien 3 ending? I want to make sure that this isn't some sort of like Mandela effect that I'm having here.
So the one you guys watch is called the Assembly Cut.
The assembly cut. That sounds right. Yeah.
Yeah. I knew what it was. I just couldn't remember what it was called.
Yeah. How do you remember the movie ending?
Great question. Try to remember.
So I will give you a hint because what happens in what I think how the movie ends versus how the movie the whatever cut you just said it was ended are they're basically the same. She doesn't want the alien inside her to get to the Weyland-Yutani to get a hold of it, so she basically falls into the vat of molten lead. But do you remember like what happens during that?
Try to remember. There's one of the soldiers shoots the black guy, right?
One of the soldiers does shoot a few people, yeah. like most of the convicts that are left or that have survived the actual alien encounter are killed here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But one of them is.
But I'm talking about what happens to her. Like, I don't really care what happens to anybody else.
Well, I know she. Well, she jumps into the furnace, right?
Yes.
Or like falls
Yeah.
into the furnace.
Falls backwards.
No, I don't remember what happens to her.
Okay, so I have it in my head that the alien comes out and she's holding on to it as she falls into the vat. No? Am I making shit up here?
I think so.
Because in that cut of the film, she just falls into the lead
No.
and
She
dies.
no, she does. Yeah. So it erupts and she's holding on to it because it's trying to
Yeah.
get away.
Yeah,
Yeah. No, you're right.
but in that cut, it doesn't come out.
Which
She
makes
just
more
goes right
sense.
into the lead. Yeah, she just swan dives into the lead.
I think I actually like that better.
Yeah. So there are changes like that. I will say every time that the alien showed up, the CG is fucking excuse me, just horrendous.
Yeah,
Just
dude.
fucking, it literally looks like they were trying to fix something, so they had somebody green screen like something, and then they just like copied and pasted that into the scene, and it just looks awful. It like every time they showed like the practical effect close up alien, looks great, but then they would cut to a scene where it like goes scampering away, and it just looked hilarious, and we would just be laughing the whole entire time. Also, and again, I could look this stuff up, but I never did. How do you remember the alien shows up? So obviously, it hitches a ride aboard the emergency vehicle that crash lands. But what does the original alien come out of? Do you remember?
Does it come out of Hicks, right?
No. What the one that because Hicks and Newt are dead.
Oh
They
yeah,
were
yeah, yeah,
killed in the crash.
yeah.
They find a single. They do find a used face hugger at one point in time. Do you remember what it attaches to create the alien on the base? Or prison, I should say.
Is it the dog?
It's a dog, right? It's a dog. I have specific memories of a dog. In this cut, it's some sort of space bull. Space cow.
What?
Yeah. Because I have specific memories of seeing, like, the thing comes out of a dog, and then it, like, goes trotting off. That looks like they just, like, put an alien suit on top of a dog, and it just goes trotting off.
I have to look
But
this up
here, in this cut, it comes out of, like, a space cow, and it's all CG and crap. So they substantially changed stuff in this cut, which honestly I think it does make it a little better, but they need to get somebody who really wants to try and fix that CG and make a better looking alien. So I'd honestly say if you're a little curious about it and you have 2.5 hours that you just want to blow on something, watch it. Find it and watch it.
Oh, I have it. I own it because it's part of the quadrilogy.
It is part of the quadrilogy?
Yeah.
I found that in that box of DVDs.
Yeah, so I just read about the differences in those in the versions. It's 30 minutes of extra footage. Where'd it go? No. Oh my God, where's it at? I just read it. Where'd it go? Where'd it go?
And now don't get me wrong, there's still a lot of stuff that I hate about the movie.
It's a terrible movie, yeah.
it's not a good movie. I still say, even with all the stuff that they fixed, it's not a good movie. But it is, at least this cut is better than the original cut. And Alien 3 as a whole is still a better movie than Alien Resurrection, or I would even dare say Alien versus Predator, the whole Alien versus Predator series.
By the way, there's only 2 Alien vs. Predator movies.
Wasn't there?
Yeah.
Why does it feel like 3?
No, there's only 2 of AVP, and then there's the Predator on Predator violence of Predator.
Which I still never saw.
Yeah. But doesn't fall into the Alien
No, it doesn't, but like you say there is no 3, but I still feel like there was a 3. That's all I'm saying. Like, for some reason, it just feels like it feels like there was something after Resurrection. It feels like there was something after AVP2. Apparently not.
So the assembly cut announced a director's cut. They're calling it. They want to assemble a director's cut, but David Fincher refused to participate.
I don't think he liked that movie.
No. Instead of an extended cut called this, the assembly cut was created based on his editing room notes and released on 2003 Alien Quadrilogy box set. It included over 30 minutes of extended and previously deleted scenes, alternate key plot elements, and new digital effects. Unlike the DVD release and the Blu-ray release of the quadrilogy, the additional footage went through post-production, receiving color correction and sound mixing that matched the rest of the film, which includes bringing back some cast members to re-record dialogue. So you guys might have watched the DVD version.
Wow, so not only is there an original cut, there is a director's cut and then a corrected director's cut.
Yeah.
So I wonder which one is available, because I do own it on iTunes as well. Like, I own the original DVDs of the quadrilogy. So obviously I would have had the original DVD cut of it, of the director's cut. So I wonder which one is on the Apple TV cut.
Let's find out.
Because I would at least skim through it and see if they fixed some of the CG elements in the Blu-ray version. In the Apple TV, if the Apple TV is the Blu-ray version.
Alien 3.
I doubt that it's going to just be like, yeah, this is exactly it.
I was looking at runtime. It says an hour 55. I don't see another version listed.
For the Apple one?
Yeah.
So hour 55. So it's not actually even. It's not actually even this the director's cut?
Nope. It's the regular one.
Wow. So I would have to actually go find a Blu-ray cut, a Blu-ray of that movie, to be able to find the better version of it.
Yes, sir.
No, that's not happening. I'm not putting that much effort into things.
I mean, that makes sense not to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, the copyright's 1992, which I think the other one would be copyrighted 1993. Hold on, let's see. Trying to see if... I thought I had it. Do I not own those on iTunes? I thought I did.
Because I know I do. I'll probably find it real quick. Quick like. If I can find my Apple TV. There it is.
Good luck,
Library.
sir. Oh.
Movies. Alien 3 Special Edition. Yeah, 2 hours and 25 minutes is what my special edition is listed as.
That's probably it then.
You think that's it?
Yeah.
Well, maybe one of these days.
One of these
I will
days.
sit down and I will watch the first two and then prepare myself to watch the third one and ignore the fact that I do own Alien Resurrection.
I own all the Predator movies. That's a shame.
That's a feat and a shame. Again, first two, great movies.
Yeah, that third one was how do I put this politely? Hot garbage. Is that a pretty accurate way of putting it? No, I don't own any of the Alien movies. Other than, well, I own Prometheus, but I think that was the one that was free
How do you not own any of the Alien movies?
on iTunes. Calm down.
I don't care. How do you not own any of the Alien movies on iTunes?
I don't actually know, to tell you the truth.
I don't know if we can be friends anymore.
Oh, shut up. We can be friends. It's just a very
We can get good
teeter-totter.
acquaintances through Paige.
Yeah, there you go. Paige is our linchpin of our friendship.
Speaking of linchpins,
Can't wait for this transition.
have you seen what James Gunn has said about the Ezra Miller Flash movie?
I have.
That is probably, what is the exact quote? Probably one of the greatest superhero movies ever made.
That he's ever seen.
Oh, here it says ever made.
Oh, maybe this was the quote. Yeah, you're right. I have it on my stuff to talk about today, but I haven't pulled it back up.
Which is a very, like, I get it. He's now co-CEO of the whole DC Studios at Warner Brothers. So it's a little, self-aggrandizing that, of course, this one of your properties is going to be one of the greatest superhero movies ever made. The thing that interests me the most about it, though, let me see if I can find the quote. So it says, I will say here that Flash is probably one of the greatest superhero movies ever made. And then he added that the film's story resets everything for the franchise, which is what I was kind of hoping that would happen. And would also explain why they are going for a different Superman right now. Somebody younger is what they have said. They haven't, as far as I've read, have not announced any other information about that. That's why we're no longer getting, unfortunately, Henry Cavill coming back. But it makes me wonder as well, are they going to cut ties with Jason Momoa and Gal Gadot and reset the Aquaman, Wonder Woman franchises as well?
So you didn't read the whole press release, did you?
No, I actually pulled up an article from People, which basically after these statements, they started going into Ezra Miller's problems and issues over the past couple months.
That makes sense.
And talking more about him. So, no, I have not heard anything else. Enlighten me.
All right, Joseph. Listen up, bud. All right, so part of the video, there's the video that he released that explains DC Universe Chapter 1 Gods and Monsters is what it's called. And the 10 new projects that are involved in it. And then how the other movies that are coming out this year, the 4 other projects that are coming out this year that are beyond his touch, I guess you could say. Like, they were already kind of, obviously done and ready to go before he signed on to it. So he is instituting a basically 2 paths of DC as of right now. There's the DCU, which is going to be the main continuity, and then there's the DCU Elseworlds. So Elseworlds, it will be just like it was in the comic books, an offshoot, a multiverse type thing that will consist of existing projects, including other characters that will be recasted in the new projects. So, his statement, there's quite a few of them, about Henry Cavill not being returning is not actually correct for most of what I read. His statement was Henry Cavill was never hired for the DCU. So, which means he was never fired from the DCU. He was still under contract for the DCEU projects, which are now referred to as Elseworlds stuff, which includes Black Adam. So, if you don't know Joe, spoiler alert, he shows up in that movie.
Yeah, I still have yet to watch Black Adam.
So he does show up at the end of that movie as a stinger scene. Kind of letting the future sequel be known that he will be the Superman in that movie if it goes forward. As far as it goes for the DCU, Henry was never involved in that those projects. The other DC Elseworlds projects would be things like Superman and Lois on TV, Teen Titans Go. I think it was the only other two bigger ones that he. Matt Reeves' Batman, which now has a sequel date or a release date and a title for its sequel.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Get to that in a little bit too, because it's on my stuff to talk about. So those were the things, and what he stated during the four things that are coming out. So there's the first one is Shazam: Fury of the Gods, which he explains in the video. That is its own. Shazam has always kind of been his own little thing. He's away from the major continuity. Obviously,
really linked it yet.
Yep. There was a scene at the end of the first one with a Superman that looked a lot like Henry Cavill's Superman suit, but never showed a face or a voice. So it could be anybody. Mm-hmm. So that's cool. So Fury of the Gods is still technically part of the DCU, right? So if they go forward with more of them, they can bring Shazam into the rest of the fold if they wanted to. Then we have the Flash, which obviously you stated earlier. He states is one of his favorite, the best superhero movies out there, and that goes. That's a lot to say because obviously he's been involved in quite a bit of it.
Yeah.
There is. The statement part of that is he said that will be the part that resets the DCU. So that's basically the prequel to Chapter 1. A lot of people are calling that the Flashpoint. So this would be the Flashpoint universe, essentially, because the events that happen in the Flash are literally the Flashpoint. They are splitting a merging of multiverse. That's why there's multiple versions of Flash in it. Ezra Miller's Flash, so Barry Allen's Flash, right. But also other Flashes that are involved in it, and other Batmans that are involved in it as well. So that is their point of saying, hey, yes, there's a lot of stuff in this. Some of it will move over to the bigger now continuity of the world, and everything involved in the other stuff is Elseworlds. So all Snyder's stuff, the Batman vs Superman stuff, all that fun stuff, Elseworlds. It's just another version of the events that could have happened or did happen, but somewhere else. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Multiverse logic.
Yes.
Also included in that will be like Michael Keaton's Batman, obviously. If they want to go forward with something with that, that's could possibly be in another Elseworlds project. Little things like that. Then you have what's the other one? There's not Aquaman. There's one other one. Oh, Blue Beetle in August, I believe. That is technically part of the DCU as he states. So he could be making more appearances past that movie, especially if Booster Gold has anything to say with it, because those two have a very big history together in the comic books. And I'll get to Booster Gold in a minute. And then, of course, there is Aquaman 2, or Aquaman The Lost Kingdom? Is that what it's called?
I don't remember.
I think so. I can't remember what it is. I had it somewhere on here, but I have way too many tabs open, and I'm confused of where it's at. So those 4 projects... Sorry, go ahead.
I have it here too, but where is it?
Yeah. So those 4 projects are technically...
Lost Kingdom. Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom.
In the Lost Kingdom, yeah. Those ones are going to be possibly tied to the DCU, depending on how they want to do it. It also depends on how they want to cast things, because if they stated in this, because one of the press people asked, what about Jason Momoa wanting to play Lobo, because he's expressed dramatic interest in playing Lobo. Both James Gunn and Peter Safran said that if he does move forward and do other things, he will not play 2 characters in the DCU.
Yeah, it'd be confusing and weird. Like, it's already confusing. Like, right now, I'm waiting for you to finish what you're saying so I can ask you which movies are in what. What's the main line going forward? Because I'm already slightly confused. This is what I kind of hate about this, is that it's great that we are getting quote-unquote elsewhere stuff, but we all know how the general public isn't going to respond very well to stuff, because they don't really pay attention to continuities and stuff. They see Superman, that's Superman. Why is Superman different? They see, Batman, why is Batman different? They're, how are they going to link this to that type things? I think with Matt Reeves' Batman, it's probably a little bit different. But when you start just throwing a bunch of stuff, especially new characters that no one's ever heard of, Blue Beetle, Booster Gold, and I even seen, I don't even know what happened with the article, that he was like, yeah, we have a bunch of other stuff in the works for like Swamp Thing and some other lesser known characters that I had to look up and be like, who the fuck is this? Where is the main continuity in all of this?
So what we'll get to right now. So DC Universe Chapter 1 Gods and Monsters, of the 10 projects they announced, there are more. These will span over 8 to 10 years. Okay? So these are going to be live action. They're going to be animated. They're going to be video games. Are all part of this continuity now. Okay? So, of the 4 previously mentioned movies, that ones that come out this year, they are essentially, if you want to think about it, prequels to Chapter 1, right? They are beforehand. So, starting with an animated show called Creature Commandos.
Yes, that was another one, yeah.
That is very Suicide Squad-like. It is an animated show, consists of multiple characters, including Rick Flagg's grandfather. Originally, it was set in World War II, and they fought Nazis, and it had like a Frankenstein character and all these other ones. They are moving into more modern times. It will be animated. The actors who do the voices, if they appear in live action or in video games, the same actor will portray the character. So
cool.
It'll be their voice and their bodies on screen at all times.
Cool. I love it.
So it's pretty awesome. And he said if any other people or any other characters show up in that show, for example, if a Batman shows up, that is their Batman. That's DCU's Batman. Okay? That's
but we
not
haven't decided on what that Batman is.
We don't know who that is yet.
Okay.
So that's where we start. From there, we continue on to Superman Legacy, which is the very first feature-length movie that will be in the DCU. It'll be a brand new Superman. It'll be a younger Superman. He cited All-Star Superman by Grant Morrison as his kind of blueprint for it.
Okay.
Also showed the Frank Quitely art behind it. So That's interesting. That's a very bold thing to do because, well, it's a very beloved series, not just by myself, but by several people in the world out there. So that's very interesting. Next up, following that, is another television program. It's going to be a HBO Max exclusive. It is called Waller.
Right.
It is based on Amanda Waller, played by Viola Davis from.
Which is cool that they're getting her to come back and they're not replacing her.
Yep.
I do like her as Amanda Waller.
Yep. So this will take place between season 1 and season 2 of Peacemaker, and Team Peacemaker will be in this series. What it's about just yet, we don't know.
So does the Suicide Squad fall within this continuity then?
Yes.
Because because Peacemaker is from the Suicide Squad movie. We can discount the first one because the second one was still kind of a soft reboot of it.
Yes.
Okay.
So that falls into the prequel stuff. So the stuff before.
Yeah.
Chapter 1. So the prologue.
Okay.
If you want to consider, we're going by book words. That's all prologue stuff, because chapter 1 again starts with Creature Commandos, Superman Legacy, and then Waller.
Gotcha.
The next up is the next movie they're going to be doing. It's called The Authority.
Okay.
The Authority is a tremendous comic book created by Warren Ellis and Brian Hitch. That is a group of superpowered human beings, including a character Joe might know the name of. It's called Midnighter.
Yep.
He's a very Batman-esque. He's a mix between Batman and Punisher, but also openly gay. But that group is this will probably be the first R-rated movie, I would suppose, in the DCU. The reason I say that, and I say in chapter 1, because obviously Suicide Squad definitely confirmed itself as rated R. But this will be the first one in the new run continuity that'll be rated R. Will there be other ones in this list? Probably Swamp Thing, maybe, if I had to take a guess, but we'll get there in a minute. So the Authority is a group of superheroes who have basically kind of been fed up with society and the failings. So they have taken upon themselves to do anything and everything possible to fix it. And that includes murder. Okay. Or justice, as some would say.
Yeah.
So, very exciting there. I'm very, very excited about that, because it's going to be very, very interesting to see how they take that. So, really happy about that. Next up is Booster Gold, another TV show from HBO Max. This is, for the folks who don't know who Booster Gold is. Booster Gold is a loser from the future who uses future tech and time travel to travel back to become a superhero, using his knowledge of future events and technology to make it seem like he is a superhero.
Yeah.
He and Blue Beetle do have a relationship. They actually have a comic book series that went on for quite a while, where they teamed up and did things. There have been other people that have taken the mantle of Booster Gold in the past, but this will be the OG character, who real name escapes me at the moment, but he is that loser from the future who utilizes technology to become a superhero in the future, or in the past.
In the past, yeah.
So, boom, there's that. Next up is another big one, which is called The Brave and the Bold. It is a Batman story. It is already said to be based on Grant Morrison's another Grant Morrison story, which is Batman and Robin. He used art from Batman and Robin, which technically that version is not actually Bruce Wayne. It's Dick Grayson. But he used it because it is, as he quoted his favorite Robin, Damian Wayne, who is the true life son of Bruce Wayne, Batman. So this will be the story of Bruce Wayne, Batman, and his actual legitimate biological son, Damian.
So that makes me wonder: are they going to start from the very beginning to explain who Damien is? I mean,
So,
have to.
yes, in that movie, he did state that they will be talking about the origin of Damian, and he says they will not be changing it. It'll be the introduction of the bigger Bat family for the first time on the big screen.
Okay.
So he alluded to other characters in the Batman family, the Bat family. So that could include Nightwing. That can include other Robins. That includes Batgirl, possibly Batwoman later on down the road, things like that. But the actual Bat family, Nightwing, Tim Drake's Robin. He even could be Red Robin in this if they really wanted to not make it so confusing.
Right.
Damian Wayne's Robin, and potentially a Batgirl. Could be a Barbara Gordon. It could be very other versions of it out there. So that's exciting. And stating that, it's kind of loosely uses the Batman Robin story by Grant Morrison is pretty awesome. Also art by Frank Quietly, so he's all over this bitch. Next up is another HBO Max series called Lanterns. This is not the previously announced Lantern Corps that was headed by Greg Berlanti and Seth Grahame-Smith. This is an all-new Lanterns. This one is basically focused on Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart as basically space cops patrolling Precinct Earth, as he said it. This is going to be a lot darker and grittier. He also stated that they will be uncovering the mystery that is linked to the overarching story of Gods and Monsters.
Was this animated or was this live action?
Live action.
Live action. So live action HBO.
Yep.
Okay.
So this again, it's pretty exciting because of what it is. If you ask me, this will be his words were. This is like True Detective in space.
Okay, I can dig that.
Okay. Speaking of space, next up is Supergirl: World of Tomorrow. This is based on the Tom King series that came out pretty recently, where Supergirl, still the cousin of Superman, instead of being growing up on Earth, she grew up on a sliver of Krypton that was stuck in time but protected from the calamity. So she got to watch everyone around her die. So
Fun
she's
times.
pretty jaded. She's not as optimistic as her cousin. But this story, if it follows the Tom King story, is about her trying to protect an alien girl from bad guys, and will be also extremely violent. So possibly rated R.
Be cool.
Yep, very interesting. Next up, speaking of ladies, we have Paradise Lost. Paradise Lost is the story of Themyscira, the island, or you could say, of the origin of Wonder Woman. This will take place before the events of Wonder Woman. So it'll basically be the lives and politics around the women of Themyscira. And this will, in James's description of it, will be very Games of Thrones. It'll have lots of intrigue and violence, obviously, and will tell the story of Themyscira and how it came about, where it comes from, how an island of only women exists, and things like that. So it will dive into the lore of Wonder Woman and possibly relaunch Wonder Woman. Now, he did not say they're recasting. They have been talking to Gal, and Gal is up for more. So we'll see how that goes in the future. Obviously, this is several years in the future, so who knows if she still wants to continue on with that rigorous lifestyle.
Right.
So we'll have to see from there. But that's, again, this is 8 to 10 year plan for these 10 movies, and anything coming in within those. So we'll see. The last of the 10 new projects that he announced as part of Chapter 1, Gods and Monsters, is Swamp Thing. This version of Swamp Thing will be the darker roots of Swamp Thing, so it'll be a possibly rated R, yes. And this will be the more mature, the more, like I said, darker themes than the previous versions, especially the TV shows from the low-budget movies from the late 80s, early 90s, somewhere around there. Mm-hmm. And will be different than the James Wan produced, short-lived, canceled before it even came out, series that was on DC Universe, the original streaming service from DC, who people may not remember.
Yeah.
A lot of people involved in this outside just James and Peter. He has brought in Tom King, who's been working with them as part of this big group of people working on this as part of it. So he's been a good resource, and he's a very knowledgeable DC person, which is really nice. Other people who are in it is one of the I can't think of her name right now. It's Crystal something. She was one of the creators and writers of the Watchmen series.
Oh, nice.
That we both enjoyed quite a bit. She has been attached to a couple things. I can't remember what they are right now. I can probably find them in one of these articles, but I'm not going to. One of the guys, one of the writers from Moon Knight has come over, and he's working on a couple projects here. There are people from the guy who created the Doom Patrol series. Nice. He's involved in this. A couple other people that are in there. Then there's other people he hasn't announced yet. So that's pretty awesome. And cool to see on there. So there's a lot more press. So they did the video, and then there was an actual press conference where they actually had invited press over to talk about it. Oh, here's the article about the writers involved in this. So it is Tom King. Drew Goddard is actually part of it.
Okay.
Jeremy Slater from Moon Knight. Christina Hodson from The Flash is part of it. Crystal Henry is the woman that was part of Watchmen, HBO's Watchmen, and of course Tom King, as I mentioned earlier. Those are the ones he stated. He did say there's others involved, but we'll have to wait and see who exactly else will pop up. And in this, he stated that he wrote all the episodes of Creature Commandos. He is in the middle of writing Superman Legacy. He has not confirmed if he will be directing the Superman movie just yet. Mm-hmm. Even though Peter said, "Hey, maybe you should." He's like, "I haven't decided yet." Because one of the goals he has for this is, and this was a slight jab at Marvel, but he said anybody who they bring in for writers and directors, it will be their vision that moves that project forward.
Right.
So the projects will tie into the overarching story, but if
what it feels like is going to be somebody else's work.
And it will, and it he even said it has a possibility to maybe not be part of those characters could show up, but the story of their movie does not have to be dictated by the overarching story. Mm-hmm. So it'll be very outside the, Power Stones in the Infinity Gauntlet, as some would say. They're not all about that. There's a bigger story, which he again alluded to. The Lanterns have a part to do, which a lot of people thought, it could be a Green Lantern centric story. Because there is Brightest Night, which is one of the big franchise-spanning, multi-character, multi-book with tie-ins and everything to story, which would lead to a lot of these, but not all of them. But we'll have to wait and see, because it is Gods and Monsters, and that is, I believe, could be a reference to the New Gods.
That's what I was thinking.
with like Big Barda and a lot of
Mm-hmm.
the other ones. So we'll see where that really goes, because the Lanterns do have to do with a lot of that because it's space stuff and it all has to do with space and all that fun stuff. So we don't know just yet. They haven't given us everything about it yet. So I think that's the gist of most of it. There was a lot of other stuff in the press conference about like the future of certain characters. He didn't specify anything, but he did break down like how it's going to work. Like I said earlier, with the characters moving in and out of animation and live action, and the actors being the same throughout there. Again, kind of a jab at Marvel, but Marvel's was theirs is more of a contract issue than it is this, because that a lot of that stuff was added on later. Like the What If stuff was added later in the run before after contracts were set. So they
Right.
people don't understand how contracts work. Contract isn't just appearances; it's anything to do with that actor. So if they were to bring in Tom Holland, for example, to revoice Spider-Man and Peter Parker in the What If series, that would take away from the contract he has for his live action, especially because he is essentially a co-owned property right now through Sony. They would have to renegotiate that, which obviously has been a very trying and troubling thing with Sony being a bunch of greedy fuckers who don't want to play along, even though they're
Right.
just making money hand over fist for not spending anything.
Right.
But I digress on that. So he wants to make it very clear that this isn't Marvel 2.0. He has learned a lot of lessons from working with Kevin Feige. Kevin Feige is a very big supporter of James Gunn doing this project. He's very excited. He's even stated that he's excited to see what James has up his sleeve, per se, with this, along with Peter Safran, obviously, being the co-CEO. This makes me think that they have a very big plan that they can use to not alter, but essentially form a more cohesive story within the DC, which, in his words, has not really been a thing that's happened
Right.
because of the fracturing of how they were trying to do things from the previous leadership that was running the DC extended universe. So it's pretty awesome to see that he's wanting to do that. So speaking of the Batman, Joe, thank you for bringing that up. So Matt Reeves, the Batman, has officially got a release date and a title.
Okay.
So Matt Reeves, the Batman, will return as the Batman Part 2. It is it is an Elseworlds story. It is not tied to the main DC universe, but it is its own entity outside the world, and it will be in theaters October 3rd, 2025.
Damn.
There is really no other details yet known by anybody outside Matt Reeves and Robert Pattinson, who will be returning.
Right.
Now, the other thing that was brought up, and this is I waited to say this to hear, is they are not eliminating anything Matt Reeves is doing with the Batman franchise. That includes the Penguin show, as well as the, I don't think yet titled Gotham Police show yet. So those will still continue. They will be part of Matt Reeves' world.
It'll be its own little bubble of universe.
Yep. So part of the Elseworld stories. Elseworlds, again, if no one's grasping this, is DC's Elseworlds continuity, which is a extremely hilarious way of doing it, because if you think about the words, so the DCEC is the DC's Elseworlds continuity. That is where all non-linear storytelling will go. So that includes Todd Phillips' Joker in its sequel. That includes Matt Reeves' Batman. That includes anything else they decide they want to make that may not. It also already exists that they continue, like Superman Lois on the CW. Will James says has another few seasons before they decide to eliminate, because it's very popular and he doesn't want to touch those properties. Not all of them, at least. Some of them they're wrapping up, like Doom Patrol. They did announce that's the season 4 is the final season of that show. Titans, I don't think they actually specified just yet. So it'll be those ones will all kind of fall in the Elseworlds area, which means they do not have to tie and will not tie into the DCU proper.
So just to get this correct, so we have a DCEU
No,
and a DCU.
so we have a DCU and we have a DCEC.
DC.
So the previous
Okay.
versions, so everything from the Zack
Wasn't
Snyder,
the previous stuff known as the DCEU?
it was.
DC Extended Universe?
Yeah, so now it's going to be known as the Elseworlds. So that falls
That's
into the Elseworlds stuff.
Elseworlds.
Yep. That is basically, it's the same way of saying, hey,
I know I get it's the same way. It's just it's more of a semantics issue to me because you almost have like, okay, this is, well, I guess for one, you're still calling it like the DCE, E something. You could also just, instead of saying Elseworlds, Elseworlds universe, you could say like DC Extended Continuities or something like that versus the DCU. Like, that should still be the DCEU, the DC Extended Universe.
yeah, they want to go, they're not using that term because,
I get it's still confusing, but that's what all of this fucking. That's what I'm saying too. Is like all of this abbreviation alphabet soup is a little confusing, even for me.
from what I get, they're going to rebrand everything. So Matt Reeves' Batman will be known as the DC Elseworlds Batman.
Yeah.
But it's the Batman. You have to specify that the Batman versus Batman
No,
because
I get that. It's just the name, the overarching naming schemes is just like, come on, guys.
well, because they're using DC's already existing nomenclature.
Yes,
They don't want to try to create something new. They want to take what already exists
but
within.
they're kind of already taking and they're kind of already creating something new. It's like a weird mashup of, yes, we have the extended universe, but we're not going to use the extended universe anymore. We're just going to have the DC universe now and the DC Elseworlds, DCE Elseworlds, whatever the C was.
It's just called DCE. So it's just DCE.
DCE.
The continuity word is literally saying continuity is that those are their own continuity outside of that. So
Okay.
there's the DCU and there's the DCE.
Okay. It's still dumb, but I got it.
Well, it's because
I get what it's going for. It's just, yeah.
Why don't you come up with a different name and see if they want to go with that, Joe? How's that?
Well, I did. You could keep the DC Extended Universe, and then you call it the DC Extended Continuities.
Yeah, but nobody liked the DC extended universe. That's why they're
I know
getting
nobody
rid of
liked
it.
it. I'm just saying that was my solution for it. You still have stuff that's saying that yes, these two things are similar. They exist in the same like overarching DC properties, but these are the
it's the
extended
word, Joe.
continuities. And these are
Extended.
the extended universe.
Makes it sound like it's part of this.
It is a part of it.
It's not.
You could literally do a another Flash movie that brings people over from all these other worlds because they are Elseworlds. Elseworlds can do crossovers. That's all I'm saying.
Well, that's why they're using the Elseworlds because it's a thing. But extended means it's
But no one says Elseworlds. Is what I'm saying.
DC
There's
fans
a very
do, Joseph.
comic booky thing to say is an Elseworld.
Well, that's what they're going for.
This is an extended continuity, meaning that they are continuities within and of themselves that still branch to the main DC comics.
Comics,
DC
yes,
movies,
but
the DC movies.
it's but it's
All I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
well, you're
All
incorrect, Joe.
I'm
It's
saying.
fine.
Whatever. I know. I don't get paid enough for this.
You don't get paid at all for this.
Yeah, I know.
Anyhow, so that is pretty much all of the stuff that they brought up as part of it. There's some other stuff in there too that's not really that important. But yeah, that's the big announcements for DC for this past week, and all that fun stuff.
I'm I'm definitely excited to see where this goes. But under James Gunn, I know that he actually cares about properties and whatnot. It'll be interesting to see where, hopefully, this is one of those things where it's like, hopefully everything goes well, and then we get all these properties, because I could very much see some of these not doing so well because they're characters that no one really knows, no one really cares about, and it might trip up the story as a whole. Because I could definitely see that James Gunn being the type of person that would hopefully fix a lot of the problems that I've had with Marvel, where I've always said that Marvel seems to tell the overarching story in credits, after credit scenes and stuff like that. They do have some movies that do actually tie into the overarching story much later in the series, or when they do the ensemble movies and stuff like that. But I've always, like I said, the one thing that I liked about the DC movies more is that you had more of that storytelling within the stories. It's just that we're probably not going to get that, but I hope that he carries that over into what he's doing now. Obviously, like you said, the main story doesn't have to revolve around an overarching story, but you do have those stories, it sounds like the Green Lanterns and whatnot, that are going to deal mostly with the overarching story, and hopefully within some of those movies you get main plot points of the overarching story within those movies and shows and whatnot.
Yeah, from what I could tell from what he was talking about in the video as well as the press conference stuff, is the movies themselves and the TV shows, they won't always directly tie to the main story. The characters will tie to those stories. So Superman Legacy, The Authority, The Brave and the Bold, the movies, as I'm trying to get here, those ones will be their own plot and story within those movies. The characters will be involved.
Because it does sound like they are really planning things out in the future. So you have these things set in the future. You're not just suddenly coming up with a new idea and throwing things in there. That you'll actually have those, because it's something that bothers me even in DC movies, the newer ones, where you have some sort of world-changing event, but other heroes don't show up. It never made sense to me.
Yep.
So at least it seems like in this, where you have that continuity set of like, okay, if you're doing the voice of this character in this animated show, expect that you could also show up in other properties as well.
Yep.
Which would make a lot more sense to me. Because it never has made sense that Shazam could be fighting some sort of giant dragon in the middle of a city. A Superman exists in this city, in this world. Why isn't a Superman here to help Shazam? Type thing. And same thing within the Marvel universe. You have this giant green hulking thing, rampaging through a city, fighting an abomination, Oh, well, okay, that's a bad example, because that actually technically in the timeline doesn't take place at the same time as any other real superhero. But, you have a god show up, where's Iron Man? Where's, this, where's that? You have a giant statue that appears out of nowhere in the middle of an ocean. Where's your Avengers that you have assembled at that point in time to investigate this stuff, to help out with these things? I hope that they at least work around that in an intelligent way, or solve that problem, because it's always annoyed me.
Yeah, and I think that's why they're going with the story, like the movie ones and the TV shows they're doing, because the characters can transition back and forth, but the stories they're going to tell are going to be solely the story of that movie. Not saying they're definitely going to have obviously references to each other, but the overarching main story, James said, is not it's not the tie-in of the movies. So the movies don't link one to the other to the other to the other.
Right.
They're just stories within this major story they're trying to tell, but they're trying to tell the character stories first, and then the overarching story. But they'll use long-form storytelling, TV shows like Lanterns, to push that narrative forward. And as they unveil the major story, those characters will then weave in and out of it. But their movies will be separate. Their shows will be separate.
Right.
So, yes, in Booster Gold's show, a Superman can show up, and it'll be the Superman for the DCU. But the Superman legacy story will not dictate the
Right.
storyline of Booster Gold.
And that's all I'm asking. That if like aliens invade or the future people invade in Booster Gold's thing, that's just a wildly thrown thing. I know that wouldn't be the thing, but it's a world endangering event. There has to be a Superman that shows up. You don't, you can't just limit it to one superhero because that's his movie. That's
Yep.
all. Yeah. That's,
Now
we're on the
these
same
are
page.
widespread, and I think that means they're probably going to have. There's a word for it. It's not spec contracts. It's a different kind of contract. So basically, as potentially a very high grossing amount of work they could get, because if someone, for example, whoever's writing and working on Booster Gold says, "Hey, we have a one episode where we want Superman to come into it," they then have to pay the Superman actor to do that.
Yeah.
Same thing with voice work. So anything animated, Creature Commandos being the only one right now that's animated that we know of. That one, like Sean Gunn's Weasel, is featured in the art they debuted on that. So he technically will be the first crossover character. Actually, Amanda Waller, I think, is in it too. So Viola Davis's Waller will be in it as well. So those two will be the first kind of like bridge between animated and live action, and then going forward, obviously, it will just be interconnected all the time. Going forward with their product, because again, in chapter one doesn't just consist of these 10 things. These are the 10 things they have set in stone that they're pushing for. These ones are where they're going. They're not. This is like, hey, these are going to be in and out. These are 8 to 10 years. We will have all these projects and more released in chapter one.
Okay.
And again, all of chapter one has one big story that they're going for, but it's not. This is part one of that story. This is part two of that story. This is part three of that story. It's just those are their own thing, and then they are part of what will be eventually the bigger story. Will all of them show up? No, not all the Authority may show up in the bigger, whatever you want to call it, in story they do. We'll say Kingdom Come or fucking Darkest Night or Brightest Day or whichever one you want to throw in there of major events. Not everybody from all these movies will show up. Will the big ones? Midnighter, probably, because it'd be funny to see Midnighter and Batman on the screen together. Because one is a murderous psychopath, the other one's Batman. But then you could have Superman and Supergirl being on the screen together in this thing, along with multiple lanterns.
Right.
So it's kind of still up in the air how we do, but he wants to be able to have all these chess pieces available, and whoever is that chess piece will be interjecting itself in and out of every project that anybody wants to. So it'll be interesting to see how they do it, and they're trying to get younger actors because obviously this is a pretty long haul plan they have going, and you don't want to, not saying Henry Cavill's old or Gal Gadot's old,
Right.
but if you're looking at another 10 years, that's going to push Henry Cavill into his close to 50s.
Yeah.
Which would be great for like a Kingdom Come type thing.
Right.
But
Yeah.
we want to be able to have longevity out of this. So
Stretch things out, definitely.
so you'll
Okay.
see. So that's pretty much all of it.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd say that's a good place to end.
All right, so getting the wrap-up signal from the producer. Oh, there it is. I saw it right there. So that's it for this week's episode of Comes Naturally. We have been
Joe.
I have been Cody, and as usual, you fuckers just came naturally.